Let's look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the NFL is about to enter its second wave of free agency, with guys like Marcus Williams, Allen Robinson, and Myles Jack all off the board and all signing with brand new teams. The NFL's top free agents are primarily gone and signed, but there remains a lot of talent and a lot of really good football players still left on the open market that need new homes. And this part of the offseason is one area where Brad Holmes particularly shines. In one year that Brad Holmes took a lot of advantage of a season ago, signing guys like Dean Marlowe, signing guys like Charles Harris, a lot of other top tier talent and a lot of other top tier production for the Detroit Lions a season ago came from this second wave of free agency. Now, Brad Holmes has shown multiple times that he is not willing yet at this point in the Lions rebuild to give out big name contracts and big money to guys in the NFL, right? These are guys like Marcus Williams or Allen Robinson or Myles Jack, guys that command major money and guys that are going to need major long-term deals with anywhere between $10 to $20 million a season. Brad Holmes is not in a point in this rebuild where he can afford to give out those contracts. And with the second wave of free agency coming around, that eliminates a few names that we could expect the Lions to maybe go after, right? That kind of eliminates the Tyrann Matthews, that eliminates the Bobby Wagners, that eliminates the big name contracts and the big time money that they would need to give to these guys in order to bring them to Detroit. But that does not eliminate every single free agent within the market, as today we are going to be going over some of the sleeper free agents, guys that you may not have heard of, guys that you may not be familiar with, but guys that could come to the Detroit Lions, guys that Brad Holmes could call up for cheap contracts, for little money, with low risk and extremely high reward. Again, just like Brad Holmes' formula, focusing on athleticism, production, and what they can do for the future. Looking for guys that may not need top tier money, may not command $10, $12 million a year, but guys that are just flying under the radar, guys that are solid or really good football players that can come in, improve this team immediately, and if not just stay for 1 year, stay for multiple and continue this rebuild. So today we have a couple of guys that fit that criteria that I want to familiarize you guys with, because they are targets that Brad Holmes could and should be looking to address in the offseason. Now, starting off with the linebacker position. Linebacker is one of the biggest positions of need for the Detroit Lions. It is that and the safety position where the Lions need to put the most money and the Lions need to address the absolute most. And the Lions have a few options as far as linebackers, but for me, there was one player in particular that's value just is way too much for the Detroit Lions to pass up on, and that would be linebacker Khalil White from the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, Khalil White has played 4 years in the NFL for the Los Angeles Chargers, and in his first 3 years got a decent amount of playing time. Played 1,053 snaps in the first 3 years of his NFL career, those all being defensive snaps. He took a lot of special team snaps as well, so he is very familiar with the NFL speed and NFL play. But last year, he got the most playing time of his career, as just a season ago, he played in 981 defensive snaps for the Los Angeles Chargers, which was very close to leading the entire defense in snaps played. In 2021, Khalil White totaled 144 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. Now, in a class with Bobby Wagner, Joe Schobert, Dante Hightower, and Anthony Barr, Khalil White is going to fly very much under the radar. Khalil White is not a household name. He's not a ESPN featured talent. He's not a guy that you're going to hear a lot about. And if the Lions end up signing him, he is not going to get a lot of news. He's not going to get a lot of breaking coverage. He is going to be somebody that when he signs somewhere is going to fly completely under the radar. But Khalil White is a really good young talent. He's only 25, 26 years old, so very much in his physical prime, very much still has a lot of football left to give. And Khalil White will be a free agent. He has not been re-signed by the Chargers as of yet. And with the Chargers adding J.C. Jackson on a massive contract and trading for Khalil Mack, they don't really have a ton of cap space left in order to keep Khalil White. And Khalil White may not cost a lot of money, may not take up a lot of cap space, but the Los Angeles Chargers have already spent big money this offseason and still have a lot of players to go through in the draft that Khalil White might fall through the cracks, might hit the open market, and be able and open to signing with the Detroit Lions. Now, as I mentioned earlier, with the linebacker class being extremely talented, Khalil White is not even a top 5, top 10 linebacker left in the free agency market right now, according to a lot of teams. But in my opinion, he would be arguably the best value talent in the free agent market. You would not have to pay Khalil White more than $3-4 million a season to get production of almost 150 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes defended, and 2 interceptions, which outproduced every single linebacker on the Detroit Lions a season ago. You can get him for 4, maybe $5 million tops and get not a top tier linebacker, but get a super underrated linebacker that comes in and makes your defense better immediately. Pair that with Jalen Reeves, or pair that with Alex Anzalone, or even maybe Derek Barnes, have those two starting, and that's a pretty good young start to your linebacking core. Add one more in the draft, and your linebacking core is pretty set for a very long time. Now, at the safety position, we've talked about this guy before, we've mentioned him, and I've talked a lot about this guy on Twitter, but Desmond Elliot, the safety from Baltimore, is one of my favorite players in this free agency class. The 24-year-old safety does not have flashy numbers. He does not have multiple interceptions, doesn't have, the 4 to 5 interceptions a year like Marcus Williams, but what he does have is really good coverage, and what he does have is proven tape and proven film. This is a guy that essentially kicked out Earl Thomas from the Baltimore Ravens because he earned playing time over the former All-Pro safety. This is a guy that the Baltimore Ravens drafted in the 4th round and was their starting free safety for 2 years. And again, as I said, replaced Earl Thomas, the All-Pro safety, who was still playing at a really, really high level for the Baltimore Ravens. Desmond Elliot replaced that guy. He played 16 games in 2020, but only 4 games in 2021. But he was set for a breakout year in 2021, as in just 4 games, he totaled 23 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 passes defended, and his first career interception. Now, again, the Baltimore Ravens do not have a ton of cap space after signing Zadarius Smith and Marcus Williams to big-time contracts, and with the Baltimore Ravens signing Marcus Williams, a safety that plays the exact same position as Desmond Elliott, it makes me think that they don't have a lot of interest in re-signing Desmond Elliott. Although I don't think he will be super expensive, the Ravens are strapped for cap space, and they've already spent big money at the safety position, leaving him open on the market for the Detroit Lions to swoop in. Again, another guy that has played very well in a system and for a team that is very highly regarded for developing talent into the NFL. The Ravens don't have the cap space or the roster spot to keep him, so they trade him away, so they let him hit the open market, and Desmond Elliott comes to be a Detroit Lion. I think him and Tracy Walker would be a really good safety duo. It would eliminate your safety need in the NFL draft, at least early, right? It would eliminate that need for a guy like Kyle Hamilton at number 2, leaving you to either take Kayvon Thibodeau or Malik Willis with that number 2 overall pick, or giving you an option to trade out. It just gives you more flexibility in the draft, as well as bringing in a super talented, really young, and very, very good football player for your team. I think he would bring a culture difference. I think it would bring a talent difference. It would improve both the culture and the talent, as Desmond Elliott would kind of bring that Baltimore mindset, that Baltimore culture a little bit over to the Detroit Lions, which is just winning despite all odds, right? Despite injuries, still playing up to standards, still playing really hard. And I think that culture kind of fits Detroit as well, right? They faced a lot of injuries. They didn't have the most successful record a season ago, but like DJ Chark mentioned in his interview, right, Detroit fought, they scratched, they clawed, and they came out with a couple really impressive wins at the end of the season because this coaching staff instilled grit, and they instilled passion, and they instilled that mindset of never quit, never give up. And I think that would be really appealing to a guy coming from Baltimore, where that system and that mindset is extremely similar. Again, Desmond Elliott shouldn't cost anywhere more than $6 million a season. Pair him with Tracy Walker and pick up one more safety late in the draft, a Nick Cross, Smoke Monday, a JT Woods, points. And your safety class and your safety group is, again, kind of fitting that mantra of the secondary, being really young, really explosive, and super athletic and hard to pass on. Now, there is one more player that I wanted to mention today, one more guy that kind of fits the model of what Brad Holmes wants to bring into Detroit, and that would be cornerback Vernon Hargreaves Jr. Now, the 26-year-old cornerback was a former first-round pick, as he was the 11th pick in the 2016 NFL draft class. Now, Vernon Hargreaves has already played for 3 different NFL teams and is currently looking for his 4th, and although he has been a NFL bust, and although he hasn't lived up to the number 11 overall pick, Vernon Hargreaves has not been that bad of a football player. In his career, totaling 290 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 18 passes defended, and 4 interceptions, I think this could be this year's Charles Harris. This is a guy that is a former first-round pick, has a lot left to prove, has a ton to prove in the NFL, and a guy that Brad Holmes could bring in for really cheap, being a former first-round pick, being a guy that never lived up to expectations, and plugging in a guy that has a lot of talent, obviously, enough talent to go top 15 in the NFL draft just a few seasons ago, and it's another low-risk, high-reward. You sign him for a couple $1 million over 1 year. If he breaks out like Charles Harris did a season ago, Charles Harris, before coming to Detroit, had 6.5 sacks on his career. 1 year in Detroit, he had 7.5 sacks with a ton of injuries, with him being the primary pass rushing threat and drawing a lot of the protection schemes to his side. He still came away with 7.5 sacks and had a career year. And I think you could see a very similar thing from Vernon Hargreaves. You bring Vernon Hargreaves in, he's a cornerback that sits behind Okudah, sits behind Malafanu, sits behind Oruwariye, sits behind AJ Parker, sits behind Jerry Jacobs. He is your last guy on the depth chart, but as we saw last year, the Lions faced a lot of injury concerns at the secondary position, so bringing in more depth, especially a former first-round pick who has a lot to prove, maybe he comes in, maybe Okudah gets hurt, maybe Oruwariye gets hurt, and Vernon Hargreaves comes in and has a career season. Maybe he walks away with 3 interceptions, maybe he walks away with 4 interceptions on the season and has a breakout year. If you do, you sign this guy for really cheap and he's a super high reward. You either re-sign him and bring him back, or you let him go and get a comp pick out of him, or he doesn't work out and you wasted, $3 million on 1 season for a 6th string cornerback. Either way, it's a win-win for Detroit. They get good quality depth at the cornerback position that they can keep for a long time, or he doesn't work out in Detroit and you move on to the next thing with no dead cap, no consequences other than just 1 wasted roster spot in 1 single year in a long-term rebuild. So, with that being said, though, that is life for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below, what free agents would you like the Detroit Lions to target? Obviously, a lot of people want to hear about the Jabril Peppers. They want to hear about, the Leighton Vander Esch's, or some of the bigger name free agents, the Tyrann Matthews, that the Lions could potentially still bring in. But honestly, I think these guys fit what Dan Campbell wants a lot more. I think these 3 guys fit the model of Brad Holmes to a T. Guys that are young, guys that have a lot to prove, guys that have a ton of upside, and guys that will be relatively cheap to sign. Again, that low risk, high reward kind of situation that Brad Holmes took advantage of over and over and over again. All of these guys could plug right into Detroit. 2 of these guys, being Khalil White and Desmond Elliot, would slide right into starting spots. And I think the culture and the mindset in Detroit fits a lot what Baltimore does. And I think it's going to be very appealing to free agents that may not have the biggest markets. So with all that being said, that is all for you guys today. Again, let me know what you guys think about the free agency class, and let me know what free agents you want the Detroit Lions to still target in Wave 2. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!